So we're going way back in the archives, the absent archives, again for this latest number, Solophobia. From my recollection, the song sort of came into being in 2001. So
yeah, that would sound about right to me. I know that it was one of the, wasn't the first song I'd ever written or anything, but it was definitely one of the first few. It was certainly one of the first few that I brought to the band.
Yeah, we was rehearsing in the Peterborough Regional College at the time. So we sort of progressed from my secondary school to college at that point.
I remember the coming up with that, basically the intro riff, and I think at that point I was inspired by a band called Face to Face and a couple of other bands.
Yeah, that name rings a bell.
Yeah,
I think they might have played at a festival I went to the following year.
Yeah, there was something like about the way that
it's quite jazzy, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it doesn't reflect.
And so it doesn't really, but my musical abilities or knowledge back then was very limited. I hadn't got a clue where to go with it after that. So then just kind of came up with a chord sequence. So straight after it, very very basic, but then and that main guitar riff, which again doesn't really sound like it should come after the other, but somehow it does make sense.
Yeah, it's got a bit of a early Idlewild, sort of punky manic Street Preachers vibe to it.
Yeah,
the rest of the song, but it was also sort of sounds inspired by the sort of new rock revolution that was going on at the time with the Strokes.
Yeah, there was definitely a Strokes element to it. I think I wanted it to sound a bit like darker and a bit punkier, but a little bit more aggressive. But yeah, the Strokes were a major influence on that sort of riff and the chord sequence of the verses, particularly.
Yeah.
But then the chorus, it has that almost Motown chord sequence in it.
Yeah.
So it's straight out.
I know what you mean. Do 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 do.
Yeah, I think I just lifted it straight out of Motown, to be honest. But
lawsuit coming this way. Watch this space.
but yeah, I realised in hindsight that's where that chord sequence sounded, it sounded right to me, and I think that's probably where I lifted it straight out of a bunch of Motown songs.
Yeah.
So yeah, the influences are wide within the song, and then I put some lyrics to it. I wanted to try and talk about. I mean, particularly back then, I didn't like being by myself at all. It was always my biggest fear, and I don't mean it in the sense of literal, being. It's that feeling of if I'm isolated for too long, of just being scared to that no one's going to want to be around you. I've done enough work on myself that I don't really feel that way anymore. But I was definitely what I was writing it about.
Yeah, not being able to enjoy me time.
Yeah, exactly. I was always just felt like I needed to be around people. Sometimes I just needed some company at a given point.
Am I right in that you actually have the bridge lyric tattooed?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't want to be alone.
Yeah, I have that on me as a tattoo. Because it was important enough to me at the time. That was my first ever tattoo. And it was a bit of a catharsis. It was me attempting to own my fear and overcome it, and so kind of accept that that's a part of who I am. And sometimes I do. If I'm isolated for a long period, for a few days without having seen people, then it does maybe start to resurface. But I also am aware of the triggers and the feelings and also coping mechanisms for these things. But also in this modern age, we're far more connected to people And so the one upshot is that it's a lot easier to reach people than it was 24 years ago.
In some ways, it's harder than ever to be isolated.
Yeah, though when you want to be. So it's probably now more suffer the other way around. But
lockdown had its benefits.
Yeah. So so that's kind of what the song was about. And back then as well, though, I didn't have Google, so I kind of the title I just called Solophobia, being a fear of solitude or whatever. Me thinking that would be the thing, but it turns out the fear of being alone is actually autophobia. But I didn't want to change the title of the song because I thought Solophobia sounded better. So it was one of those things. I didn't have a Google back then.
You personalised it, so
I didn't have access to resources to find that out until much later on. But so it's autophobia. But I kept the title of the song as Solophobia.
I thought that would be a fear of cars, but
exactly. There you go. But so it's my own word that I made up, as it turns out. But I think it still makes sense. So
we actually played it live once with me singing the song live. You were playing drums for us at the time, and we played it with John and Grant as well. But I remember having the lyric sheets gaffer taped to the monitor, and so it was kind of a rough and ready performance. But we played it, so it's the first ever headline gig we played at the Met Lounge, and I remember you booked it, designed the flyers, put a couple of other bands on the bill. So that was our first full-length headline show in Peterborough.
Yeah.
And we played an hour-long set, and that song featured in there. And it's the only time we played it, we didn't record it.
No, we didn't. And then we didn't record that show either.
Unfortunately.
There was no record of it. Right. There were a few demo versions over the years. I think after that, we're done after that, because I don't think I recorded any on tape or anything before that. But there was one I did an acoustic version of it, maybe a couple of years after that. I'm not sure. It was definitely, we were still in Absent when I recorded it, because
still have the original lyric sheet with the gaffer tape stuck to it.
But the song's been floating around in various guises. I think there's probably been about 2 or 3 different demo versions of it over time. And then started, this project, it was one that obviously from back here felt we wanted to do it, and I'm actually really kind of excited for people to hear it. And I'm also really excited by, we've actually reintroduced the aggression that I was talking about, that inspired it. It was actually, and I think we've pushed it further. I think it's one of the heaviest sounding things we've ever recorded.
The bass on it is so fat. Like it will melt your face, I promise you.
I just it's interesting that it's really just
Adam's playing a storm on that one.
It's sounding mega. So I just find that quite funny how so it's kind of come full circle. So where I wrote it with a whole bunch of mixed influences, but with a little bit of an aggressive influence in there. That it kind of, when we played it in the Absent, it was definitely a little bit more strokesy, a little lighter. It wasn't too aggressive. and then obviously I started doing acoustic versions of it, and I have played it acoustically at solo performances.
Yeah.
You know, over the years, and now it's come back around, and
now you're addressing your fear right on there, playing solo.
Yeah. But yeah. And we did add a guitar solo, so neither of you, but both of you played little exchange guitar solos in the middle of the song. So it's not. Does that just show that neither one of you was afraid of solos?
Yeah. There's a little bend in there I do that I think it's a double track bend that's quite satisfying to hear on playback. So that song's had a 23-year journey, 24-year journey in terms of its release. But again, we played it live while Dave was still in the band. So we recorded it with Dave. We played it live with Dave. The last gig we played with Dave actually was at Melissa's in Stamford. We were supporting the Mets.
Yeah, that's right. So we did play it then, didn't we?
Yeah. And I can remember that being one of the highlights of the set. It's just when you can.
Yeah, it's just a straight rocker, really, isn't it? It's just like.
It's very satisfying playing those Motown.
Those Motown chords. Those are really.
Me and Jake kind of look at each other and just bash those chords out, and it's very satisfying.